Welcome, everyone. I'm Tanya Russo Hamilton, and I'd like to welcome you to Westside Italian Culture's cookie making demonstration, Italian cookies the way Nonna used to make them. We have some wonderful guests tonight, Joanne, Josette, and Christine. They'll be making some cookies for you, and Josette is also going to make coffee for us in a mocha pot. Please forgive us that the video starts a little bit into Joanne's demonstration, but it'll pick up right there, and we have a wonderful evening for you, so please enjoy.
And that's from that dough that I couldn't get all together. And now it is. It's firm. It says to chill them. I don't know how long to chill them. I've been chilling these for a couple hours now because I made them earlier today and I ran some errands. And then I don't know about you guys, I always pan the pan, which I don't think we did that growing up. We put oil or something on the pans. Anyway, take these, cut them in like 1/4-inch circles. These are just icebox cookies. They're very simple. They call for vanilla extract. I did make a batch. Okay, we've been practicing making cookies, you guys. So I did make a batch with vanilla extract and I thought they were good. And sometimes it's just fun to taste that memory. But this time I put lemon extract in just to be a little bit different. So you can see I've got big rolls out of these, so they make a lot of cookies. Anyway, this is what you do. You just cut them. The first time I made them, I cut them big and they were big. And then I'll show you in just a minute here how these look. But these are Auntie Mary's. They have brown sugar in them. They're good. We ate a lot of them growing up. So you put them in the oven, and then guess what? Just like that, they're baked. They're kind of hard. They'll last a long time. They'll freeze well, and they're pretty good. My cameraman will eat them too. He likes them too. So those are Auntie Mary's icebox cookies. Auntie Mary lived out in Gresham, and she made these a lot. You could always count on these being at her house. We liked them. So that's Auntie Mary's cookie. Nonna was Auntie Mary's sister. Nonna lives 6 blocks away on 26th and Southeast Woodward. Whenever you went to Nonna's house, she had that oven with the drawer on one side. You open it up, the can of cookies was always full. And I liked the Taralucci because I think they were a festive cookie. They look so pretty. And so the Taralucci, which I don't think I've made in years, again, calls for 5 cups of flour. So this is the dough I made earlier for the Taralucci. Again, it's a stiffer dough, but you don't have to chill it. And you just roll it out. It says, roll out the size of your little finger. Well, then what do you do with it? So I was just rolling on this, which, take a look at my cutting board, by the way, has my initials in it. If Tyler's on here, I told him I'd give him a plug. My grandson made that. That's the program I'm talking about. I think that's an Italian thing too, right? So take this, roll it the size of your little finger, and then I made mine into wreaths, and put it on the cookie sheet. You could make it into anything you want. You could leave them straight. When I was playing with these, I made everybody's initials. So if you had an L or an R, or anything you wanted to do, you could bake these anyway. Just the recipes are roll in the shape of your little finger. So that's what I did. Just roll these out. They're kind of fun. Bake them. And then voila, you have Taralucci. But those look kind of boring. So you cool them. And then we'll mix a little bit of confector sugar. I think we're like way good on time. Why don't you give me like a 2-minute warning, Christina? But I think we're gonna be fine. You know how to do this. Mix your little sugar, water. And then again, just for fun, I don't know, we're on this lemon kick maybe because it's summer. I squeezed a little lemon in this. I think Nonna would be okay with that because she mixed everything just however she wanted. But now we have to add more sugar. So just make the little thing, and then the best part, of course, are the sprinkles. This is why I love these cookies. So these are cooled. Dip, dip. There's our Taralucci. Aren't they pretty? And the whole can. So as kids, I just thought these were the coolest things. Don't skimp on the sprinkles. They make them look really pretty, but they taste the same. This, on the other hand, oh, these are kind of a hard cookie too. Let me show you that. Of course they are. They have 5 cups of flour. So they don't, they're not hard, but they're not chewy at all. Compared to the lemon oatmeal, this was Auntie Lola's. This is a little bit different story. Auntie Lola lived on the other side of Woodward, so we were in the middle of all these relatives. And whenever you went to Auntie Lola's house, she always made sure you had something to eat or something to drink, of course. So one day we went to her house and she said, oh, I've got a healthy cookie for you guys. I want you to try it. So this is the lemon oatmeal cookie, which you can see kind of falls apart. The reason she called this a healthy cookie is because it has no eggs. So really, it was a low cholesterol cookie, although I guess we didn't count the sugar and the margarine in these cookies. We just said, oh, they don't have eggs, they must be healthy. And these only take 2/3 cup of flour. So the trick with these is same thing, you mix them. The recipe's pretty straightforward. Chill them. The first batch I made stood a little firmer. I don't think I put as much margarine in. And this batch, I think I put more, and they're a little more buttery, and I kind of like them better. So you can play with those, see what you think, or maybe chill them longer too. Clearly, these are all kind of basic things, and I bet you guys have some too. So that's my 3 cookies: Auntie Mary's Icebox Cookie, Nonna's Taralucci, and Auntie Lola's Lemon Oatmeal, which I don't know if it's Italian cookie, but it's a good memory for me, and I think Chris too. That's it.
There you are. Okay, Chris, take it away.
Well, I am doing the sesame cookie. Now, when Joanne talked about Nonna's oven, she turquoise cookie tin with roses on top. And the cookie I always remember was called the sesame cookie. And sometimes it was called the cowboy cookie. So Auntie Mary and Nonna kind of battled against each other. They were sisters that loved each other, but they also competed against each other. So the recipe I have is Auntie Mary's sesame cookie. And from the card, you can see it's well loved. It has oil. It has vanilla on it. It is very vintage looking. So what I'm going to do tonight is just show you how you mix it up, because this recipe you mix with your hands. This is all hands on deck kind of cookie. So it calls for 2.5 cups flour. So I have my 2 cups of flour here in the bowl. And then the other 1/2 cup I have over here, which we will use when we go to knead it all together. So you put all your dry ingredients together, adding it to my flour. Then I'm taking my 2 teaspoons of baking powder and adding that. And then I'm taking my 1 teaspoon salt and adding that. So that's all my dry ingredients. And then what I'm going to do is just take my wooden spoon and mix it all together in my bowl. So that way I get some of this all put together. Then I'm going to add my wet ingredients. And so it calls for a 1/3 cup milk. So I'm going to make myself a little whale and put in my 1/3 cup milk. And then it calls for a teaspoon of vanilla, which I'm going to add my teaspoon of vanilla. It goes in there. And then it calls for 1 egg, and I like to beat the egg a little bit and pour it into my well. And then the last thing that gets added is the shortening, and I like to use the Crisco butter shortening when I make these. When I go to, calls for 3/4 cup of shortening, and when I go to add this, I like to cut it into little chunks. It just makes it easier for me. So when I am kneading the dough, it's not so hard to mix up. Now, when I went online to learn about this cookie or try and get some more information about this cookie, I found that in Sicily, they have a sesame cookie that they call Giugiolana, and I made it up and compared it to my grandmother's, and they are nothing alike at all. I mean, the two cookies don't look alike, they don't taste alike, even though the ingredients are very simple, but just different proportions. So I have everything in the bowl that goes into the cookies, and now I've already washed my hands before I came on. So now what I'm going to do is mix all this stuff, just like our grandmothers used to do, and get it into, I feel like a mix master here right now, but you're just squeezing it all together and trying to get all the wet and dry ingredients mashed together. Now, the sesame cookie that the Giugiolana uses a lot more sesame seeds than this recipe that I am using on my grandmother's. And it said to make the cookie into like a little square, then put it in milk, and then roll it in sesame. And I think that's where the big difference is between the two cookies, because this one is like in the cookies that Joanne talked about, how you are rolling it out like the size of your finger. So if you have a fat finger, you have a fatter roll, I guess. But everything was referred to roll out like your little finger. And so I guess that was their form of measurement, was their little finger. So once I get the dough pretty much mixed and it's still sticky on my hands, I'm going to dump it out onto my sheet here. And I still need to knead it. It's way too moist. And that's why you have this extra half cup of flour that you're going to kind of add and to the dough, so that way it gets to a place where you can actually start to work with it. And it's kind of one of those cookies, like most of the Italian cookies, you do it by feel, not so much by how much it requires. It's what does it feel like? How big was the egg? Did the egg, make the dough stickier? Or, so once you get your dough kind of in a form where you like it and it feels a good consistency, I kind of like Joanne's term, like Play-Doh, because that's really what it kind of feels like. Then you get kind of positioned. I make a little mound on it, and then I put the mound off to the side, and my fingers still have all this sticky dough to it, which I'm going to wash my hands real quick so that way I can roll these. Sorry about that.
Here's where we're headed, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, and then what we're going to do is I'm going to take a knife, and she just used to cut off a little wedge of dough to work with. And this is still pretty moist. I can feel that it's still a little too sticky. So I'm just gonna roll a little flour, and then I just roll it out into a coil, kind of like you're playing with clay, making a coil pot or something. And then once you get your coil about the size that you like it, about the size of your little finger, then you take your sesame seed. And I like to buy my sesame seed in bulk at Winco, because I think a lot of things in the bulk aisle go really fast, and so they're pretty fresh. And then I just make a row of sesame, and then I roll my dough into the sesame. So the cookie now has sesame on it. And then once you get it the way you like it, then she used to take a knife and she would always cut it at a diagonal. So then you would just make like a little 2-inch diagonal, and she would put them on her cookie sheet. And some have more sesame than others, and some don't have quite as much sesame. It just kind of depends on where the sesame is, I guess. But the ones that they show in Italy, in Sicily, because when we were there, I actually tasted some, they have tons of sesame seeds on them. And I like to taste the sesame seeds, but I don't actually love that many sesame seeds on them. So I think this was always one of my favorite cookies of Nonna's, was her sesame cookie. And the recipe's pretty adapted to other things. I think at one point Joanne used to make a cookie that she used to make a chicken out of this dough, if I remember right, around Easter time. So you can do other things with this cookie. And then I just lay it out, and then I put it in the other shape that you can do is a S shape, which is often used. And that's what my daughter remembered, is how the cookie was always an S shape. So when you get done, you put it in the oven, you cook it, and then you have, when you get done, you can sit down with your cup of coffee, and you can have your cookies in either an S shape, or you can have your cookies in little logs. And with that, I'm gonna let Josette show us how to make that perfect cup of coffee to go with our cookies.
Definitely. Okay, so I'm giving my camera now to my cameraman. Hi, everybody. I'm Josette. My name is last name is Beach, but my maiden name was Santilli, and my grandmother's maiden name was Galucci. And so what I'm going to show you is our favorite. Anyone in our family favorite memory is Grandma's fritters on Christmas Eve. We call them fritters. I'm sure there's some Italian name for them, but I just don't know what it is. So if you know what it is, maybe put it in the chat. But unlike Joanne, where she probably practiced for days and got it perfect, I haven't done anything, so I'm just going on the fly. So we'll see how this goes tonight. So also, Joanne mentioned her Auntie Mary lived in Gresham. Well, before she lived in Gresham, she lived in the house that I grew up in, on Southeast 28th in Southeast Portland. So that's a little connection with Joanne and I there, amongst other things. So the fritters are fried in oil, and we only make them on Christmas Eve. So my grandma right now in heaven is probably going, Mamma mia, what's she doing? But anyway, when you're a little one, the ones that you like the best are sugar. So I'm gonna make these a little bit smaller because I want them to cook in time. But usually they would be bigger. And you can make them any shape that you want. We usually make them kind of long and thin because we want them to cook through the center. And then we just pop them in the oil. I'll just do a few. And while that's cooking, I'm going to talk to you a little bit. Can you see how these are turning nice and golden brown? That's okay, we got it. Okay, so let me talk to you a little bit about the coffee. So I bought a little espresso machine about 20 years ago when we had an Italian exchange student living with us from Cosenza. He was 16 when he came to live with us, and we had a 16-year-old and a 12-year-old. And so his parents were going to come from Cosenza, which is in the same region, Abruzes, where my grandmother grew up. She was in Apriano. Hold on with the coffee. These are almost ready. Here's the favorite part. When the first ones, the sugar and cinnamon ones are ready, you call the youngest members of your family, the littles, you call them in. So this Christmas, this coming Christmas, my little 2-year-old grandson will get to be the one to shake the fritters and the cinnamon sugar. So that's always a fun thing for all the little ones. Everything we do it all together. And I forgot to tell you about the dough. So my grandmother, she would slave all day to make the dough. And my mother's generation thought it was too much work, so they wouldn't do it. Our generation figured you just go buy the Rhodes dough and you let it rise. So that's what this is. The dough is Rhodes dough that we let rise. After we shake this in cinnamon, sugar, we pull them out of the bag, and they are just a lot of deliciousness. Our platter with the sugar ones. And then the teenagers walk them around the Christmas Eve where everybody is until all the sugar ones are gone. After the sugar ones are gone, then we make the cheese ones. And the cheese ones, you start liking these when you're about in your teenage years. They're so yummy. So you flatten out the dough, you put the cheese in, you cover it, and then you pinch real tight. Sometimes they come open. I'm going to pray tonight that they don't come open, but I'm just going to do this one. Okay, so getting back to the coffee. I got this when our exchange students' parents came for Christmas. And so lots of you, I mean, you probably have this. I'm just going to show you what I do with it. If you see this little valve on the outside, you can also see it on the inside a little bit. And you only pour the water up to that valve. If you pour it above the valve, when it's cooking, it's going to hiss out and burn your stove, and then your husband has to clean it. And he doesn't like doing that. And so you take your little scoop that holds the coffee, and I'm using a really fine espresso ground coffee. And you pat it down. You put it into the holder with the water, and you screw on the lid. Okay, so now it didn't fall open. It didn't come open. So here's one of the cheese fritters. And when you bite into it, it's really hot right now, but when you bite into it, it's got nice melted cheese that oozes out of it. So then you make a platter of cheese fritters. And the teenagers walk them all around to everybody. So this happens all before dinner happens. So we're all full by the time dinner gets there. But these are our traditional kind of appetizers. Okay. So when you screw this on, you've got to screw it on really tight, because if you don't, it's going to boil out. And then your husband has to clean the stove. And he doesn't like to do that. Right, Lonnie? Right. Okay. So I'm going to I used hot water in it today because I want it to boil soon. I don't want to take a lot of time. So that's not going to take much time. Okay, now I'm going to make the last batch of fritters. So the little ones like the sugar and cinnamon. Everybody likes the cheese ones. But then there's the anchovy ones.
Only the Italians like it.
My husband's not Italian, and he will tell you he does not like them. And my brothers are about the only ones that do, but we still make them. And I'm just going to take, so I've got anchovies that I got from Sheridan's. Everybody go down to Sheridan's to get their Italian food. We love Sheridan's. Okay, so with this, you're going to flatten it, and you just place the anchovy in. And then it's got coffee on it. Then you just pinch it real tight. We'll see if this will make it. And we usually fill the pot up, so there's like 7 or 8 of them cooking at a time. And I'm going to plop that in there. The anchovies are done. Then they get passed around. And then about a half an hour later, we eat dinner. So my son decided a couple years ago that since nobody likes the anchovies, why don't we put prosciutto and salami and maybe some cheese? And so we've been doing that the last couple years. So we're morphing my grandma's recipe a little bit. With the coffee, you're going to start hearing kind of a hissing sound, and that's the water coming up through the valve. And as soon as it's done hissing, that means it's done. So it should be happening any minute now. Wow, and my anchovy one is perfect. It didn't open up either. So sorry, this doesn't look as beautiful as Chris's and Joanne's. But Joanne, do you remember where I got this plate?
You can mute.
Where are you, Joanne? The answer is San Gimignano. The last time we went to Italy, this platter came from a little shop in San Gimignano.
Oh, I remember where you got that plate. You got it in San Gimignano.
Good, Joanne.
It took me 3 days to learn how to say San Gimignano.
So you can see we still have a lot of dough left, but by the time Christmas, before we eat dinner, all of that dough would have been gone. Let me tell you about this, about coffee. My grandmother lived across the street from a church, and so every Sunday after church, we would go and have cookies and coffee. And I always had baby coffee. So I'm going to show you, I make my coffee baby coffee. It's, with cream and sugar. It's starting to come in.
Okay.
So you can go and keep talking, and then I'll just show you when it.
Yeah, maybe we could open up for questions, Josette, while you're finishing up your coffee.
Any questions for anybody?
Can you hear it? Can you hear it?
Yeah,
We can see it.
Yeah, we can hear it. So if you guys want to unmute now, and if anyone has questions or comments, you're welcome to share or ask questions of the ladies and their amazing presentations. I'm very impressed with your presentations. Thank you.
Yay.
So there's the coffee.
Thank you. It brought back wonderful memories. I lived with my grandmother for 2 years in my teenage years, and she made all kinds of cookies, especially at Christmas time.
So wonderful.
Oh,
Thanks for the memories.
I can have more.
so you're making Americano almost.
Americano. And then my favorite is this cream.
Mm. Can you show us what it looks like in the pot? Because when you lift up the lid, you see all the coffee's at the top now. Yeah.
Coffee would be in there. So sorry, I went over.
It's okay.
I drink this tonight, I won't sleep. So I'll save it for tomorrow.
You guys did a stellar job considering you only had 10 minutes each to present.
Yes.
Wish we could share the cookies.
I know.
Yes.
You guys,
Some flour
the
cookies.
meeting, yeah, I put the recipes, Christina and I will also email it out. But the recipes are in the chat if you can download before the meeting comes to an end.
Less than a minute. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of fun to
I
go
was
back.
curious
Thank you.
about something.
Yes.
The plate on Joanne's sprinkles she used for her sprinkles, the plate she used is very similar to my mom's pattern.
Desert Rose.
Yeah, it just
That's
brought
why
back
I
memories.
used it. I have a few things of my mom's, and all the Italians had that, right?
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay,
See that?
yeah, that's the
Yeah.
one.
And then look at that too.
Yeah.
I pulled that out just for my mom.
Oh.
It's all about the memories, right? And the
Well,
cookies. I
this
did
is-
eat too much cookie dough though growing up.
Meeting has been recorded, so if you missed any part or came in late, we will be sharing the link to the recording so you can come back and check everything out.
Thank
So,
you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
It was
Yeah,
very nice.
very nice.
thank you,
Thank you, guys.
ladies.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for joining us, everyone. That was really great.
Really good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
nice.
Thank
Joanne,
you.
your comment about tasting the memories, you nailed it. You taste memories. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to stop because it's like, no matter how much I taste this,
Yeah.
it's a memory. But
Yeah.
it does bring back a whole flood of
Yeah.
days and happy times and